You ever get a letter in the mail that makes you wonder if the senders leave VY-ing in a parallel universe? That's how it started for Maya's single sheet of paper, smugly delivered from the Pinewood Meadows Homeowners Association, announcing their grand plan to turn my lake into a parking lot. Yeah, my lake. A crystal-clear, spring-fed beauty that's been the heart of my property for years. By the time this mess was over, the HOA president was wading through knee-deep muck, cursing her drowned azaleas, while her perfect neighborhood turned into a swampy disaster. Let me tell you how it all went down. I'm Tom Harlan, a retired hydrological engineer who thought he'd spend his golden years fishing and sipping coffee by Willow Lake. It's not just any lake, it's a natural gem, fed by underground springs and tied to Minnow Creek, which has a habit of swelling when the rains come. My land's never been part of Pinewood Meadows, a fact that didn't stop Claire Queen Dempsey, the HOA's newly minted dictator, from eyeing my lake like it was her personal sandbox. Claire was a force of nature herself. Think power suits a size too tight, a white SUV that guzzled gas like it was going out of style, and a voice that could make dogs howl. She'd glare at you over her designer glasses, even if she had to tilt her head up to do it. Trouble started small. Claire had a fit about my lawn, or rather, the wildflowers and native grasses I let grow along the VY Cybele line, where my property met Pinewood's manicured greenbelt. To her, my natural VYB was a crime against her VY shown of suburban perfection. I pointed out, nice as I could, that it was my land and I liked it wild. That's when I became her problem child. 6 months into her reign, the letter arrived. No, dear Tom, just a cold, dear property owner. It declared that Pinewood Meadows had an urgent need for more guest parking and had chosen the stagnant water feature on my land, Willow Lake, for a concrete lot. Groundwork would start July 15th. I nearly choked on my coffee. I dug out my deeds, my survey maps, papers I knew like the back of my hand from my engineering days. Willow Lake was 100 fan tram mine, no question. More than that, it was a safety valve for Minnow Creek. Pave it over, and the water would have nowhere to go but straight into Pinewood's cul-de-sacs. I marched to their fake Tudor clubhouse the next day, maps in hand, and found Claire holding court with her jittery board members. Mrs. Dempsey, I said, keeping my cool, there's a huge mistake here. Willow Lake is my property, and filling it will flood your neighborhood. I unrolled my survey, pointing to the clear boundary lines. Claire barely glanced at it. Mr. Harlan, we're aware you think it's yours, she sniffed like I was a kid with a toy deed. Community needs come first. That pond's an eyesore and mosquito trap. A parking lot will benefit everyone. I was floored. It's not about what I think, it's legal fact. And that pond keeps Minnow Creek from drowning your streets. Concrete's impermeable. Water will back up into poplar and elm. One board member, a nervous guy named Steve, mumbled about their contractor, saying it'd be fine with proper grading. I shot back. Grading doesn't make water vanish. Minnow Creek's been spilling into that lake for decades. Block it, and it'll find a new path through your homes. Claire waved me off like I was a fly. We have experts, Mr. Harlan. The lot's happening. Maybe we can offer a small sum for you. VYEW. She winked, and I swear my blood pressure spiked. This wasn't a discussion. It was a declaration of war. My quiet retirement was under siege by a concrete-crazed tyrant and her clueless minions. I wasn't just fighting for my lake, I was fighting to save them from their own idiocy. My study became a war room. Coffee went cold as I pored over county ordinances, state environmental laws, and flood maps dating back to the 1900s. Willow Lake wasn't just mine. It was a documented overflow basin for Minnow Creek, a state-recognized waterway. Messing with it wasn't just a property violation, it was an environmental crime. I drafted a letter, crisp and airtight, attaching deeds, surveys, flood data, and state codes. I explained how the lake managed runoff, how VYing it would flood Pinewood's low-lying streets, and sent it certified mail to Claire, every board member, and their management company. I wasn't just warning them. I was building a paper trail. Claire's reply was a single paragraph of pure arrogance. They consulted their legal counsel and Pave Right Solutions, their contractor, and deemed my concerns unfounded and obstructionist. The project was full speed ahead. Favorite solution? Sounded like they'd pave your dog if it stood still. I hit the next HOA meeting, armed with a topo map and a flood projection showing water swallowing Poplar, Elm, and Cherry Lane. This isn't just about my land, I told the crowd of 30 residents. It's about your homes. Willow Lake's a safety valve. Take it away, and Minnow Creek will turn your yards into ponds. Claire cut me off, her voice dripping venom. Mr. Harlan, your scare tactics are amateur. Pav writes professionals. This is progress, something you seem allergic to. A woman in the third row, Ellen Carter, spoke up, her voice shaky. Claire, my late husband said Minnow Creek could get bad. Are we sure Mr. Harlan's wrong? My basement's already damp. Claire shut her down. Ellen, we've got this. Modern engineering handles streams. Let's not get hysterical. A few residents, including Ellen, approached me after, whispering support, but admitting Claire's grip on the board was ironclad. My data, my pleas, my facts, none of it mattered. I called the county and the State Department of Environmental Quality, DQ. The county called it a CIVYL dispute, but noted the drainage issue. The DQ was interested but bogged down in red tape, promising to look into it after months. July 15th dawned hot and clear. I stood on my porch, watching Willow Lake shimmer, unaware of its doom. At 7:30 a.m., the diesel roar of a bulldozer broke the silence. Then an excavator, then a mud-splattered pickup driven by a guy who looked like he bench-pressed tractors. Claire's SUV rolled up, and she stepped out in khakis, a linen shirt, and a pristine hard hat, clipboard in hand like a general. Mr. Harlan, she trilled. Lovely day for progress, isn't it? I didn't blink. This is my property. You're trespassing and causing environmental damage I've warned you about. Leave now. She laughed. Don't be dramatic. Our lawyers cleared it. She waved to the bulldozer guy, Frank. Start clearing. Frank hesitated. He says it's his land, ma'am. Got papers. Claire's smile tightened. The HOA takes responsibility. Go. I raised my camera. Everything's recorded, Mrs. Dempsey. Every tree, every scoop of dirt, every violation. This is EVY Denke for a lawsuit against you, the board, and pave right. She faltered for a second, but her ego won. The bulldozer roared. I stood my ground, filming as it tore into the willows. I called 911 CIVYL matter, they said. I called my lawyer, who urged me to keep documenting. All day, I watched them rip out trees, scoop mud, and mangle my lake. Claire barked orders from her air-conditioned SUV. Ellen Carter watched, heartbroken. By late afternoon, the lake was a war zone. The next day, dump trucks brought gravel, then concrete trucks poured gray sludge over what was left. Claire held a groundbreaking with a silver shovel for a local blogger, beaming as if she'd built an empire. By August's end, Willow Lake was gone, replaced by a sterile concrete slab with parking stripes and a sign. Pinewood Meadows guest parking. Permit holders only. They thought they'd won. Claire threw a dedication party with cheap cider and stale cookies, glaring at me from her new asphalt kingdom. But I knew something they didn't. Water doesn't forget. Late summer was dry, Minnow Creek a trickle. Claire bragged about her smooth project, even eyeing my land for a gazebo. My lawyer and I prepped a lawsuit trespass, property destruction, environmental damage. The DQ, finally roused by the wetland violation, sent Claire's stern letter she dismissed as bureaucratic nonsense. I watched the weather. A monster storm was brewing in the Gulf, set to stall over us. The kind that'd make Minnow Creek rage. Without Willow Lake, Pinewood was a sitting duck. I sent one last letter, CCing the DQ and County Emergency Management. A major storm's coming October 12th. Without Willow Lake, Pinewood will flood, especially Poplar, Elm, and Cherry. Act now. Claire pinned it to the HOA bulletin board with a note. Our local doomsayer speaks. Shall we build arcs? Residents laughed nervously. Then the rain came. Tuesday started with a drizzle, turning to a steady pour by afternoon. It didn't stop. Wednesday, Minnow Creek was a torrent. The ground, soaked, couldn't take more. The creek hit the parking lot's concrete edge and kept rising. With no lake to spill into, it backed up. By Wednesday evening, water crept into Pinewood. Elm Street, the lowest point, was first. Ellen Carter's backyard became a pond. Social media exploded. Water's in my driveway on Poplar. My basement's flooding. The clubhouse's retention pond, a glorified ditch, overflowed. Claire blamed city drains, but no drain could handle a creek dammed by concrete. The parking lot was an island, surrounded by a new lake swallowing Pinewood. Cars on Poplar were submerged. Power failed as transformers flooded. Residents scrambled, sandbagging with nothing, watching their homes drown. Claire's SUV stalled on Cherry Lane, water up to its doors. Teens helped her out, laughing as they waded through the chaos. By Thursday, the rain stopped, but Pinewood was a swamp. Lawns were mudflats, homes inundated, the parking lot coated in creek sludge. The air stank of wet drywall and despair. My phone rang off the hooker reporter, the county, the DQ. I met the DQ team at the disaster zone, laying out my maps, letters, photos, and VY Deos. An engineer shook his head. They built a dam and put their houses on the wrong side. Residents gathered, furious. Claire, in soggy rain gear, blamed an act of God. Ellen Carter stepped forward while VYing my letter. No, Claire. Tom warned us. You called him a doomsayer. Look around. Others joined in, recounting my ignored warnings. The DEQ fined Pinewood millions for wetland destruction and unpermitted construction. Lawsuits hit Claire, the HOA, and PaveRight, whose assessment was a flimsy two-pager. Claire and the board resigned in disgrace at a shouting match meeting. Ellen joined a new board to handle the crisis. Cleanup costs soared, insurance companies balked, and Pinewood became a financial sinkhole. My lawsuit settled fast. They had no defense. I won damages and a court order to remove the parking lot and restore Willow Lake, paid by the HOA's dwindling funds. Watching the concrete come up was bittersweet. The springs trickled again. The land's contours returned. Restoration was slow. New soil, native plants, DQ oversight, but life came back. Dragonflies, frogs, herons. Pinewood changed too. The ordeal forged a wary respect for nature and dissent. Claire, buried in lawsuits, sold her house and fled to a high-rise far from creeks. The Pinewood swamp became a cautionary tale. Agencies tightened waterway rules, using my case as a warning. My porch is peaceful again. Willow wetlands thrive. The fight was brutal, but seeing my lake breathe again, worth every second. So what do you think? Was I right to fight Claire's HOA to the bitter end? Or should I have compromised? Is it fair that Pinewood residents paid for her mistake? Or did they deserve it for staying silent? Drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. Let's talk about the crazy things HOAs do and how far you'd go to protect your home.